Hello, everyone. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Emily.
And we're the hosts of the I Don't Think So podcast. Each episode, we discuss a different story, theory, or mystery and decide if we think it's believable or if we really don't think so.
Here at the I Don't Think So podcast, we are affiliated with Furry Sports. Then our theories, your favorite places to podcast every Wednesday. If you like what you hear, go ahead and give us a rating or leave a comment. Feel free to share with your friends and family. And follow us on all of our socials at I Don't Think So _EH, or check out our YouTube page at IDTS Conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, we're like trekking right through November. You know, it's hunting season. Ow!
Boom, boom.
You see these guys?
Bang, bang.
As you can tell, Hannah and I, huge hunters.
Ow.
Ka-chow.
There you go.
You know, I got better things to do than to sit in the woods with a weapon.
I'm gonna go to a movie, go shopping,
Sleep.
sit on my couch, warmth.
There's so many things I could do besides sit in the woods. And somebody's like, well, you could do the walking. What's it called? Drive.
Well, and I hate people that are like, yeah, I can go and get a good nap in. It's like, if you go out there to nap, just take a nap at your house.
Leave the gun at home.
You didn't need to drive out to the woods
and then bright orange.
Climb up a tree to take a nap.
How many times I hear people talking about hunting? I washed my clothes in dirt detergent and
so it doesn't have the
unscented dryer sheets. I'm like, this is too much work.
Mm-hmm.
It's way too much work. You know what? I can hit one with my car just fine. In my regular smelling clothes.
I promise it's fine. There was one year that like our family got like 60 or something, but my mom laughed because she said she got the biggest one because she hit it with her car. She butchered it.
Absolutely how it should.
Yeah. So there you go.
That's November for you. And Thanksgiving's coming up. I'm so excited.
I know, we got a couple weeks. We're recording this on Veterans Day, so
shout out to the veterans.
Thank you.
For your service.
Yeah, thanks for all you've done. And we're actually starting with a little update today.
Yay! Update!
Honestly, I feel like we contributed to this.
I hope so.
I think that we brought awareness back to this case after 50 years.
I think we've done it.
It's been 50 years. So, our longtime listeners will know that in our very first season, I think it was like my second episode that I planned. Because I think my first one was Titanic and this is the second one. If I'm doing it correctly. Or I had it flipped up. We talked about...
Your first one was that.
That's what I thought. So I think the second one I did was this. It was very early on. Wow. Anyway, if we go back in time, I asked Emily if she'd ever been to Elk Lake and she said no.
I stand by that statement.
You've been to Elk Lake if you've been to Elk Lake Tavern.
Yeah, fair. One time.
You're close enough.
I was in a bar.
You've never driven down E.
I have, I guess. I always thought it was a creek.
There's Elk Creek and Elk Lake.
Well, anyways, I adventured. You know, I should.
You should. They have like a nice little swimming area and stuff.
More of a sinker.
Floating area.
Put me in a life jacket. We'll be there.
Anywho, we talked about how Elk Lake is haunted by this ghost named Mary.
Yeah.
And it'd been a cold case for the last 50 years. So we talked about how there was this woman named Mary Kay Shies who was killed in Elk Mound. I love how the national stories just say Dunn County because it's so small.
They're like, you won't know where this is.
Yes. So this happened on February 15th, 1974. So it's been over 50 years since this happened. And she was 25 years old. She was traveling from Minneapolis to Chicago, hitchhiking to an art show, and went missing. And she ended up being found in a ditch in the snow next to Elk Lake, and there was an eyewitness who actually gave like the cops a description, and they made like a sketch of him. Pretty similar, honestly. If you look at the pictures, there's him as an old person.
Oh my god!
And I feel like they're pretty close. Anywho, at the time they gave this description, but there was no real like leads beyond this. Like they had a description of the car, but they didn't have any plates, and they just gave a description of the man, but nothing really happened. So, like I said, that there was an eyewitness, and the sheriff's department's now come out and stated that over the course of the next several decades, there were many tips, leads, and interviews conducted related to this homicide by multiple law enforcement agencies. There was also several items of evidence examined and re-examined over the years as technological advances in DNA were developed, but still there was no viable suspects. However, in recent years, I think after the I Don't Think So podcast re-talked about the story, but it has been literally in the last couple of years.
And we've been doing this.
Yep, Dunn County Sheriff's Office ended up connecting with the Ramapo College of Mahwah in New Jersey and their team of genetic genealogists. And through genetic genealogy, they found a viable suspect for this case. So they ended up identifying John K. Miller, who's 84, of Owatonna, Minnesota, and they ended up arresting him and asking about it. And at first he was like denying any involvement, and then they're like, dude, we have your DNA, and he admitted to all of it. So he's now facing first-degree homicide charges in the death of Mary Kay Shice. So I feel like, as much as this is a very sad story, even after 50 years, hopefully she's getting some justice and this family's getting some closure.
I'm so happy it's getting solved. Like, I understand, like, she might not have any
living relatives,
but, like, talk about just, like, can't get away with shit. That makes me thrilled. Except for, can you imagine, like, your grandpa being, like, the nicest guy your whole life, and then the cops come knocking, they're like, hey, yeah, 50 years ago, he murdered someone.
This hitchhiker. And I just think it's crazy. Like, I was talking to my husband about it, and, like, what's crazy is that not only did they solve it, but they found the suspect, and the suspect is alive, because he's 84 years old.
He's older than she was, or around the same age.
Well, if she was still alive, she'd be 75, and he's 84, so he's, like, 10 years older than her. Creep.
And then I, like, have questions of, like, maybe, but do you just kill one person?
Well, and that's what I was saying. Like, I wonder if they're ever going to connect any other
random
murders to him now that his DNA is, like, it's going to be in some sort of database.
Especially if you get away with it once.
Correct.
You think you'd do it? Like, that's just me.
Especially, like, I mean, who knows what exactly happened, but, like, she was not obviously doing anything crazy. She's just hitchhiking. So, like, what led to it, unless he's just a psychopath? It's not like they were in a fight or something.
I'm guessing.
Like, I feel like he's had to have done it, like, before or after. You don't just do that once and never do it again.
My thoughts is he probably was like, oh, I'll pick her up and then she'll sleep with me. And
probably
said, no, you creep. And like some men do, he's like, that means.
Yikes. Rather than respect her boundaries, he'd rather kill her.
Correct. You know, no isn't always a great answer, apparently.
Well, as much as this is kind of like a sad start to our podcast, I do feel like some closure has come from this.
It's like a bittersweet. It's bitter because she still is gone and still lost her life tragically to this person. But that being said, I think it's incredible that she is getting justice, and that I don't know what the outcome looks like for this old man. Because is it jail time?
I would think so. For murder?
I would assume, but he's 84.
I mean, you're not going to get much out of him.
Yeah.
But you should still send him to jail.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing, but he's like also just like old.
He still is going to go to jail.
I'm sure he will. I'm not disagreeing. I just think it's just like, it's a weird punishment at this point because it's like he's lived his whole
life
free.
doing this. I agree with you. I hope he at least takes some accountability at this point and like some closure comes of it for the family's sake.
For sure.
At least he's taking accountability now. Granted, he got literally backed in a corner saying, "We have DNA to prove
that you killed this woman." And he's like, got me.
Fine.
It was me.
Yeah. Anyway, into kind of a different note, throughout November, we decided we're going to do some Reddit stories. So I thought we'd kick it back to a couple of Emma the Assholes.
Oh, I love Emma the Assholes.
So,
there's a lot of my TikTok.
Same. Our first one is, am I the asshole for refusing to let my sister's kids stay with me after she canceled on me last minute? So,
my early opinion.
My 29, so me is a 29 male. I was confused. So it says, so my 29 male sister, 32 female, just didn't love how they worded that, but that's fine, has 3 kids, 10, 7, and 5. Last month, she asked me if I could watch them for a weekend while she and her husband went on a short anniversary trip. I agreed because I love my nieces and nephew, but I made it clear that I needed at least 2 weeks' notice because I work long hours and I'd have to rearrange my schedule.
Sure, fair.
Fast forward to this past week. I asked my boss for time off, cleared my weekend, and stocked my house with everything the kids would need. Friday afternoon rolls around and I'm waiting for her to drop them off. Suddenly, I get a text from her saying they're not coming. She decided last minute that they were going to a family-friendly resort instead and didn't need me to watch them anymore. No apology, just we'll do it another time. I was frustrated because I had completely cleared my weekend, turned down plans with friends, and rearranged my work schedule for this. I responded to her by telling her it wasn't cool to cancel last minute like that, especially when I went out of my way to help. Then, 2 days later, she called me again asking if I could watch the kids the following weekend. Apparently, something came up with her original plan and she needed someone to watch them after all. I told her no, I wasn't available, and she got upset and said I was being selfish and punishing her kids for something that wasn't their fault. Now she's mad at me, and my parents are saying I should be more understanding because, quote, things come up when you're a parent. I don't have kids, but I feel like it's just basic respect to not cancel on someone last minute and then expect them to be available whenever you want. So, am I the asshole for refusing to watch my sister's kids after she canceled on me last minute?
I stand by my statement. No, you're not the asshole. What I will say is, do things come up as when you're a parent? For sure.
100%.
But you can't tell me that you didn't have some prior knowledge that you were going to be booking a family resort.
Correct.
Room before the day of, or before the hours of.
Right. And the thing is, too, is even say last minute she found out, it doesn't mean she needs to take her kids, number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, you could still apologize.
You could say, I am so sorry that you went through all this trouble. Plans have changed. Can I reimburse you at least for some of your cost expenditure, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And then for her to be like, how do you watch my kids next weekend? Like,
and you could tell that, like, they had to make it an effort to then, like, go be able and to be able to watch them in the first place. So for you to then, like, act like nothing's, like, it's no big deal to do it whenever you want is just a little ridiculous, in my opinion.
Well, and it's one thing to be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, when she canceled with you, what do you do next weekend as well? Like, is that an opportunity? And they could say yes or no. Mm-hmm. And you need to be an adult and take that yes or no.
100%. Also, you can't blame other people for not being conveniently able to watch your kids.
Free of charge.
Mm-hmm. Anywho, pretty basic one to start. But I still thought it was a good note.
It was a good one. I have a beef with the parents jumping in. Like, well, you don't get what it's like to be a parent.
Correct.
Firstly, mom and pop, mind your fucking business.
Also, you can watch them.
Thanks for offering your competency.
Mm-hmm.
You can take care of it.
Yep, and if you don't do it, you don't understand what it's like to be a parent anymore.
I guess it must be different.
No, I'm not kidding.
But it's like, also, I make plans. I do things. I'm busy. Like, I don't have just like a ton of free weekends as someone who doesn't have children.
100%.
So it's like, I can't imagine there needs to be some prior knowledge of like, hey, can you do this thing? Otherwise, I'm going to be like, no, I'm busy. And
Correct.
sometimes when I'm not busy, I want to not be busy.
Correct. And to purposefully rearrange stuff for the previous weekend and then expect the next weekend is just going to work out. Not how life works.
Also, when this brother has explicitly stated, hey, I need like a 2 weeks heads up.
Yep.
So I can make sure I have everything. And 3 kids is a lot.
It is a lot.
What were they? 7, 5, 3?
10, 7, and 5.
10, 7. Not old
kids.
Not kids that can like
fend for themselves
or
right.
do their own thing. So you are like actively watching those children.
100%.
And caring for those children. No guarantees that 5-year-old sleeping. I mean, they should be. But like,
there's so many other factors of having someone watch your kids than just like, hey, can I drop them off at your house next weekend?
Is there schoolwork? Are you doing activities? What are they eating? What are they not eating right now? Because me too. But like, I just think it's unfair to then have such a visceral reaction of like,
and then try to get your parents on your side.
You're being petty because I canceled on you.
Also, you went on vacation last weekend. Why do you need to go again?
Something. She made it seem like something. Like it was like something happened.
Yeah, I don't know. Stupid.
Too bad.
Anywho, I've got one more, and it's kind of a long one. I have the original post, and then there's like a year later update.
Oh!
So
I love that.
We'll start with the original post, and then we'll go to the update, okay?
Okay.
So, am I the asshole? My 39 female ex-husband, 37 male, is insisting I change my last name back to my maiden name because his new fiance, 24 female, feels it will be awkward for her and I to have the same last name. Am I the asshole for refusing to change it? So,
I mean, I think there's a lot of layers to that, like whether there's kids involved or wanting your kids to have the same last name as you, and like for tax purposes and things like that. Then like, I don't blame her for not wanting to change it, but I also at the same time I don't know if I want to have the same last name.
Correct. I'll read it to you.
Okay.
So, my 39 female ex-husband, 38 male, has been dating this woman for 3 years. For context, she is 24 years old. My ex and I were married for 12 years and have been divorced for 5 years. We have 3 kids together who are now teenagers. My ex and I got divorced because we were young when we met and got married, and we grew apart as people. It was a mutual decision, and we agreed our kids came first and have always co-parented very well. This has been the case up until the last year when his girlfriend moved in with him. Previously, we would do holidays and kids' birthdays together. Now, when she is present, they won't even sit near me at our kids' sporting events. Meaning the couple won't sit near them. Yep. I have always been nice to this woman despite my kids expressing they do not like her and they feel their dad acts differently when she is around. My ex told me early on she wasn't a fan of me and it felt I intimidated her. When I asked her for examples of how I intimidated her, he said it's my fave and that I have a resting bitch face it's my face. Sorry, typo.
Okay.
He said it's my face that I have a resting bitch face and it makes her uncomfortable. My ex and her got engaged over Christmas and my kids were less than thrilled, my daughter especially. She feels her dad made a major life decision without even talking to them about it first. My ex called me yesterday saying he has given me a heads up that I have a year to change my last name back to my maiden name as his fiance is expressing her distaste and concern for her and I to have the same last name when they get married. I told him we agreed in our divorce that I could keep his last name until I felt the need to change it and that and that is what is listed on our paperwork. It also told him I don't want to have a different last name than our kids. He said I'm being unreasonable and refusing to see how this would make his fiance uncomfortable. I told him I can't see it from her side because I'm a grown-up and not an immature child like she is. He told me I could ask anyone about the situation and everyone would agree with her. So, am I the asshole for refusing to change my last name to make her happy?
Especially when it's something that you and your ex have previously discussed.
Yes.
Is in your paperwork because you said, I don't want to have a different last name than my children.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes for so many reasons. That can come from like an insurance standpoint, it makes life easier. A medical standpoint, it can make life easier. Like there's so many pieces of like having the same last name as your child makes life easier.
100%. There's a couple people that commented, you should definitely send him a link to this post. I would be surprised if anyone decides with him. Hubby can change his name to match her.
He can change her last name. Also, she's 24. Like, I get it. I'm 25.
Yeah.
20. But, like, she is a little bit out of her depth here, it feels like.
100%.
And is feeling very insecure.
Right. And it's like, there's so many other layers to this as to why you should get over it. Like, she has the right as a person that, like, she could go and change her name to whatever the fuck she wants.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't need to even be her parents' name, like her husband's name or her child's name. She could change it to whatever she wants. But she also has the right to not change it as well. Now, I feel like she specifically said, like, I can change it whenever I want. And she's keeping it until her kids are grown so she can continue to have the same name as her kids. Like, I understand why you would want that. I also understand why you wouldn't necessarily want to continue to keep the name as your ex and how some people might feel uncomfortable doing that.
Right.
But it's her choice. And this other person has absolutely no right to come in and tell them they have to change their name, in my opinion.
No. I could maybe, like the person I'm dating now, say they got married and had an ex and there was no children involved.
Right.
And there was nothing. I might be a little like,
that's a little weird.
Why don't you want to? I don't know if I would think on it too long.
No.
I think my thought would be kind of weird that you don't want to change it back, but whatever.
Right.
And then I would immediately go into, if I don't want to do the paperwork.
Right. Because you have to pay for it. It's a lot of work to change it and change it back. Like,
it's work, it's money, it's time. It's all these things. So I would
probably there's so many things that like I think too, like, why don't you just do XYZ that are like little tasks in my life that I put off for months when it shouldn't take me that long to do. And this is a lot bigger task that takes like time to get done.
Correct. And I think it goes back a little bit to like, it sounds like he's kind of wrapped up in the fact that like I'm dating someone, 13 years my
12,
junior?
Yep,
12 years my junior. Young, she's hot, she's fun, and I want to do whatever it takes to make her happy. And so, like, kind of poo-pooing the kids, kind of poo-pooing the ex-wife, kind of poo-pooing their agreements, and things like that. Doesn't make sense, but I understand why he's doing it, but it's also just like your balls out of her purse.
100%. So we have an update.
I love a year later, which is crazy.
Yeah. So am I the asshole? Update to my ex-husband demanding I change my last name back to my maiden name per his fiance's request. Several of you have asked for an update on my ex-husband giving me a year to change my last name back to my maiden name because his fiance was uncomfortable with her and I having the same last name. I tried to link the original post, but it was not allowing me to do this, so I'm not sure the best way to give an update, so I will try this. To clarify, the reason he gave me a year is because they are getting married sometime next year and wanted my name changed prior to their wedding. Anyway, my ex called me yesterday and said he had done a lot of research on ex-wives keeping the ex-husband's last name after a divorce. He said he didn't realize how common this is, especially when there's children from the marriage. He said that this had been my last name for 17 years. My entire adult life had been with this last name, and I have built a career on it.
Right. Thinking about like if you put any like research or papers out, like that's your last name. Like your full name is attached to
that name.
Yeah. 100%.
Exactly. So he basically acknowledged that for every reason I had to keep, it was legitimate. He apologized for the way he initially approached me about changing my last name and explained that he is in a bad spot trying to make his fiance happy. He also explained she feels that by me keeping his last name must mean that I still love him. And this is my secret way of assuring we end up together someday. So she's crazy.
So she's incredibly
insecure. I informed this was not or nor will ever be the case. I care deeply about him because I married him for 12 years and he is the father of my children and I want him to be happy in life. However, I fell out of love with him many years ago and that will not change. He said he informed his fiance that he will not bring this up to me again, and if she didn't like it, the ball was in her court to decide if she wanted to continue their relationship.
Good for him.
Thank you all for the feedback on my original post. I never expected this kind of response and an overwhelming amount of comments and advice. And it said someone commented he's marrying a child who's too immature for marriage. I guess that's what happens when you're almost 40 dating a 21-year-old. So,
Great. I mean, that's kind of a weird. I'm happy for the update, but I also feel like that's a weird update for a year later.
Correct. I think people just started commenting, like re-commenting on it again.
Sure.
Like a year later being like, hey, you like said you had a year. It's been a year.
Did you change your name?
Did you change your name or not? Like nosy. That's the kind of update I want.
I want to know if they're still together. You know, like I want to know what like 24-year-old decided. Also, I'm telling you right here, right now, if at 24 I brought home a 40-year-old, my parents, and was like, this is my boyfriend. My parents would be like, we gotta talk. Especially with kids in their teens.
Correct.
This 40-year-old has kids in his teens.
Like, she is closer in age to his children.
Yes.
Than
she is to him.
Correct. Yuck.
Yeah. Not good. Sir, you gotta start. This will always never cease to amaze me. You know, you'll see people like Bill Belichick sitting there 20-something-year-old.
Correct. When I think it's like, not that I think it's okay if they don't have kids, but I think it's one thing to have that type of relationship, but you're not coming in to try to then like co-parent someone else's kids that are almost your age. You know what I mean? Like, take the kids out of it. It's still like, I think a weird relationship, but it's like different. Like, you don't have the same type of life responsibilities versus like being 24 years old
and trying to act as a like
stepmom. Yeah. Correct.
I just always think it's weird. Like, what do you have to talk about? You're talking about retirement and your Medicare, and she's talking about like the latest club that she went to and
finishing college,
like, or starting a career.
Correct.
Like, I just don't. You have nothing in common.
No.
And I hate when people are like, "Oh, I have an old soul." Just because you like old music and vintage clothes doesn't mean you have an old soul.
Maybe he's too immature, and that's why he's interested in women that young.
You ever wonder why people their own age don't want to fuck with them? Maybe look into that a little bit.
Right, and it's like, again, like, it'd be one thing if we're talking like 38 and 30.
100%.
Or like 12 years is a lot. And you're going from 24 to 36.
Even if we're talking like 60, 50.
Yeah, that's a big life difference.
That's a big life difference. Granted, would I be a little like more like, okay, sure. But I'd still be like, one of you is 15 years out of retirement and hoping to be out of here. And the other of you are like, could retire tomorrow.
Yeah. No, not a fan.
Not for me, but that's, you know, maybe why my age bracket on my dating sites is always way smaller.
Fair.
Pinch.
There you go. Well, that's all I have for you today.
Ah, what a good episode.
Thank you.
Amazing. Well, I don't know if I'll have any updates to any of my stories next week. We'll see.
Yeah.
But if you guys liked what you hear, go ahead, like, share, comment on the show, and follow us on all of our socials at I don't think so _EH. And you can check us out on YouTube at IDTS Conspiracies. If you have any Reddit stories you want us to read, feel free to send us those. Or if you have any topics you want us to check out for next month, please send them our way as well.
Absolutely. And otherwise, we'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.